Greetings, folks. This is Victor Haskins, and in this video, I want to talk to you about vetting colleges, how to figure out where to apply and where to attend to get the college experience that you seek. So, depending on how old you are, at some point you're going to apply for a job, and you're going to go to a job interview. And in that job interview, they're going to figure out whether or not you are the right fit for their job. If you're doing your job and what you're supposed to be doing, you should also be interviewing the job interview people to figure out if that role is right for you, because you're going to be investing a lot of your time and energy, and in the case of going to college, a lot of potentially your money in this opportunity. So you want to make sure you get it right. So here's a few tips for you to figure out, things to think about as you're vetting colleges and figuring out where to apply. Okay, the first is to have some idea of what you want to study or what kinds of things you need to have access to in order to have an ideal experience. Okay, so that means if you want to go study classical and jazz music, make sure you're at a program that encourages that or that allows you to take courses in such a manner that you can have both of those experiences in a meaningful way. I was on a college tour. I remember when I was figuring out what colleges I wanted to apply to, and I know I wanted to study classical and jazz. And I went on a college tour, and they told me I could study both at a particular school. And then when I went to the audition several months later, they looked at my resume, and they were like, it seems like you're undecided whether you're going to study classical or jazz. And I said, oh, well, they told me I could do both on the tour, so I'm here to do both. They're like, yeah, you need to pick one or the other because that's not what we do here. And I was like, wow. So they totally just lied to me on the tour. So it's important that you get those kinds of details ironed out so you know what to expect and what the scene is like at that college. And speaking of scene, that brings me to point number 2, which is figure out what kind of environment you want to be in, okay? Some colleges are situated in places where the town or city in which that college is located is based around that college. It's a college town. So when summertime hits or when winter break hits, the college town is a ghost town because there's no students there to populate it, to make things run. That's a very different experience than being in a college that's integrated into a city, okay? And so that's important to think about in terms of what kind of environment you want to be in, because you're not just going to college for academics, or at least hopefully that's not the only thing you're going for. You're going for a full experience. And if you're going for music, you should be in a place where there is a scene, there is a community that is doing the things that you are studying in school, right? Don't just go to school to go to school, go to school so you have the opportunity to meet other people who do what you do so you can learn from them in those situations. Those are some of the most valuable learning experiences outside of the classroom. Maybe even more valuable than experiences that you have in the classroom. But you can't have that if you're not in the right community, okay? So be very mindful of where you're studying. Don't just go to a school to study with this great teacher and, take classes. Make sure you're doing that, but also you're able to go and see high-level professionals perform regularly in the community where you're not having to drive a whole long distance to get somewhere where people are playing. Don't be somewhere where you're in the middle of nowhere and you don't have access to a community of people who are doing the thing that you're studying in school, right? You're shooting yourself in the foot. 3, know who you're going to study with, right? A lot of times people say, I want to go to this school because such and such big name person is teaching there. And then they get there and then they find out that person is always on tour, or only people who are in a certain percentile of the skill sets of people who are accepted at that school get to study with that person. So don't get caught in that. Make sure you're very clear on what the situation is. If you're actually going to get to study with this person that you are ostensibly trying to go to the school to study with, if they're not available and you're actually just going to have a grad student teaching you, that's important to know. So that way you can make your decision based off of that and not based off what you think is going to happen. So it's worth it to talk to someone at the school. I don't mean someone on the faculty necessarily, although that could also be useful, but talk to some students. And that brings me to point number 4. Visit these schools if you have the opportunity. Make the time to go visit these schools, because that's going to be very impactful in terms of you figuring out whether this is the right vibe for you, right? You can go visit a school. You can see if you like the way the classrooms feel, or you like the way that people's attitudes are on campus. You want to go meet some students who are in, so sit through some class, audit some classes, sit through some of the classes ensembles, and see if you can meet some students after that class, who you can talk to and maybe stay in touch with after your visit, and ask them some real questions about their lived experience having been there for several months or several years, depending on what year that student is. They're going to give you a lot of useful insight. So make sure you talk to some different people, talk to people who are on the faculty and the staff, talk to students, do your research by talking to people who are there, in addition to checking out their website and the materials they have on their website. And I think that's pretty much it. Know what it is that you want to study and what you need to have access to. Know what kind of environment you want to be in. Know who you're going to be studying with, and do some visits, meet some students, and talk to some people. If you do those 4 things, that's going to really help you get a stronger flavor for what that school is about that you can't get in a catalog or from looking at materials on websites or online. So I hope that's helpful for you guys. Good luck in your search for the right music school to attend, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.